Hello folks, how you all doing? Hope you're all keeping well. Right, the build continues with Bernard. We are fresh back from the Overlord show. What a fantastic show. Weather was brilliant, lots of vehicles to see. Sorry I didn't get a chance to do any filming, but if you were at the show, you would know how good it was. If you've not been to the show, then put it down for your calendar next year. Last bank holiday of May. Great show. It's a small show, but really well run and lots of stuff to see. Just like to say apologies to Dave. I didn't get a chance to pop round and speak to you and have a chat with you about your Scamel Explorer. I did look for you, but you were always busy doing something else, mate. So hopefully I'll catch up with you at the Capel show. So I say we continue with Bernard. 5 weeks to Capel. No pressure. Time to stop messing about now, I suppose. Let's just get stuck in. Word work to do. Hopefully in this video we are going to. Hopefully, I've got a few days before my next job starts, a few days off work, so hopefully weather holds off, we will get really stuck into doing the body work. I'll try and film as much as I can, but we're under pressure for time wise, and it does actually take a bit of time to stop and film stuff. As much as I'd like to do it, as much as you'd like to see it, I will do as much as I can, but I'm going to have to concentrate more on actually doing the work itself. So apologies if it sort of goes from one big bit to another straight away, but hope you enjoy it, and let's see how we get on. As you can see from the previous video, so the new timber bears are all done and all the ironwork is back on them. All we need to do now is just get them clamped down to the chassis and we're basically good to go. So if you've never done anything like this before, as you can see, there's an awful lot of brackets. Simplest way to start, find a fixed point, both sides. I came off the back of the cab here to a fixed point. Now, bearing in mind, we are also got to take into consideration, is a cab still square? You know, it's 86 years old. So possibly not. But this was our fixed point. You've got to pick somewhere. So from there back, every single bracket had a measurement taken, one after the other. Simplest way to record it is just take a photograph of the measuring tape. Write it down as well if you want to. So we had points done, say to each bracket. We also had points done to the beginning and end of each bit of timber, exactly where they landed. And the overall measurements, to be fair, considering Bernard's 86 years old, there was only 5 mil of difference on both sides. So for a coach built body like this, I think that's pretty impressive really. So one other thing to take into consideration, if I can get my words out, the driver's side bearers were too rotten to actually sort of copy. So they've been done from passenger side ones. And at the time, when I drilled the bolts and put everything back in place, place the old timber on top of the new timbers, drilled through as the marking points. Seemed like a good idea, but schoolboy error. I did not take into consideration at the time that possibly some of the holes may have been hand drilled 86 years ago, and maybe not exactly the same place as the other side. But luckily we only had one small error, and that was just purely down to it being a different style bracket here by the winch. Other than that, like I say, only 5 mil difference, and that I believe I can work out when I clamp the bearers back in place. We can get that down to within a couple of mil. Another option you can, if you want to, is you can work from the back. We'd like to ideally think the fixed point here, being steel, is going to be better than the fixed point of the cab. But we also need to take into consideration as well, this was built a long time ago. Exactly how much precision they put in to make it a millimetre perfectly, I don't know. Also, it could have had a knock, could have had an accident, we don't know, could be slightly out. But once we actually start assembling and put together, we'll get a set square on there and we will square off as best as possible. Bear in mind, it is all timber, it's a natural product, they're going to have slight bows in the timbers anyway. that's all part of the fun of a build. Working with timber. I mean, welding's nice, but working in timber, it's just a bit more gentle. Take your time a bit. If you make a little bit of a mistake, it's a bit harder to put right. Can't put a bit of timber back in there. So as they say, measure twice, cut once. Right, timber bearers have all successfully been lined up and bolted in place. We're now starting on the very first cross member. So this will be cross member number 1. So the plan is to pre-drill the holes for that bit of upright on the bodywork. The reason we do it now while setting out on the axle stands is because once the cross member has been fitted in place, we're not going to be able to get access to drill these holes. So we'll pre-drill them now, then the cross member can be fitted and then bolted on afterwards. I've had a quick chat with Matt Foster at Matador HQ. A little bit of last minute, little bit of advice about getting them squared off. Considering the age of the vehicle, it's really not that bad, and it is a new timber. It does follow the line of the timber really quite well, but then when we come to the side, it's not quite square. I mean, it's running out by, I imagine by the time we get to the actual top of the timber, it could be running out by as much as about 10 mil, which is just going to be too much. So what we're going to do is we're going to pack out the bottom. The simplest way really is just some basic sort of carpentry packers. We'll let the clamps off. We'll stick a packer under here just to bring it down to exactly where it needs to be to get it square on the set square there. Once we're squared up, we'll get the first holes drilled, double check them, and then drill the rest of the holes. Measure across them side to side, make sure both sides are still square, and then we're ready to go. Easy. Time consuming, but easy. But if we get the first one set squaring in, then we will basically get string lines from front to rear to get all the others lined up. So take your time, get the first one right, and then the others should really follow suit. If you put the first one in wrong, you're going to cause yourself a whole world of grief. Right, that took considerably more work than anticipated. Just trying to get it all square. So, like I said, if you start right, the rest of it should work out better for you. We had fixed points to go from. One fixed point would be the rear tailgate frame. That can't be altered. So measurements were taken from side to side, and that is pretty square. So we've had to go from there. Getting the uprights done wasn't too much of a problem. It's only running out on that one about sort of 3 or 4 mils is not bad. The other side, however, we were down to about 10 mil on the far end. But this is all due to the fact that, you know, the age of the vehicle, made a long time ago. There probably wasn't that much precision when they're welding these bits of angle iron together. And at the end of the day, you're drilling into timber. They can be adjusted, they can be moved. And if you want to speed production up, they were just coming off the line. Well, probably hand done actually. Welded as quickly as possible and fitted to the vehicles. But it's square. And we are to within, I think, about 3 mil of the tailgate frame. So I'm pretty happy with that. A vehicle that size, the rear body, to be only sort of 3 mil out on width from front to rear, I'm going to chalk that as a win. So we'll get this fitted next, and then we can start working our way back, he says with confidence. Well, that is the plan anyway. Like I said, that took a bit more work than anticipated, but let's just get it right the first time, get it fitted, and go from there. This is starting to do me head in a bit now. I think I've got my builder's head on. and it's just not working with this truck. So measuring tape I use day in, day out for work, fitting kitchens, fitting bathrooms, etc. And we try to be as millimetre perfect as possible. This does not apply to a Matador. At the moment, if I can get within 1/4 of an inch, I think I'm lucky. Fitting the first cross member, considerably longer than anticipated. Trying to set the actual dead centre of it is not exactly easy. So, measuring off the chassis, nearest point we can, the cab is about 10mm offset anyway. So do we follow the cab or do we follow the chassis? This is one of those great mysteries. So, people who've done it before, you've probably been through the same thing. If you've never done it before, it really is a case of now I will try to stop putting my build, get my builder's head off, get my mechanical head on. It can't be millimetre perfect because I don't think it was ever built millimetre perfect, but we will get it as best as we can. Either that or I'm going to lose my mind. It's one or the other. Am I still having fun? Yeah, no, I am really. Right, let's crack on. Stage 1 complete. That is the front cross member and the rear cross member fitted. These are going to be our 2 fixed points for the other cross members. So they've all been measured off the chassis, centred and drilled and bolted in place and all fixed down. So what we're going to do with the next 4 is back to basics. We have a string line, which we basically tie from front to rear. All the cross members I know are cut exactly the same, so this is really going to save time on measuring each one off individually. So we basically can't go out of alignment. So there's only 4 to fit on there, so we put a string line on there, wrap round so both sides can be squared up properly. And what I've done is I've put a 2mm spacer on each corner. Reason for the 2mm spacer is just in case there's a little bit of paint that's sticking out, or just a little bit of something that's going to snag on the line. Without the 2mm spacer, that way we can fit our 4 remaining cross members without it snagging on the line either side. They can be fit into place, measured off correctly. I say, as long as you've just had a little bit of gap between them on each side, you know you're spot on. All it takes is one of the cross members just to be sticking out slightly, snagging the line, and it can just push all the others out. So a little tip, I say, just put like a 2mm spacer. You probably get away with a 1mm spacer to be fair, but this way is a bit more sort of belt and braces, is less chance of snagging. Right, that's been progress for the day. Yes, I know it's not a lot done in a day, and I had expected to do more, but sometimes it is all in the preparation. Taking the time just to make sure you've got, I say, that front and rear set up, and the other should be a lot quicker to fit. And there we have it, 6 cross members fitted. Like all these jobs, they all seem to be taking a little bit longer than anticipated, but the string line has just worked out perfectly. Each one just a couple of mil gap. Which is just what we want. It does speed things up. It does make for a nice job, but like I said, it's still a time-consuming job. There's no other way to put it. Everything needs adjustment. Just even getting the timber square, every little bit needs adjustment. You think it's going to be straight on, drill some holes, bolt them down. No. But we're there. I've got to within 2mm. So I think on a vehicle this size, 2mm difference, I'm happy with that. Okay, we're finally starting to make some progress. We've been concentrating on tailgate assembly in the last day or so. For something just as small as the tailgate assembly, this is an incredible amount of work. This really is. Everything so far in this build has just taken longer than expected. You're working with, you know, 80-plus-year-old metal. You're working with new timber. Nothing's quite the same size. There's just everything you think you're just going to bolt on, you're not. It takes a little bit of adjustment, a little bit of trimming, a little bit of grinding, a bit of everything. It's just, yeah. If you've done it before, you know what I'm talking about. If you've never done it, this has just been a bit of a monumental task, to be honest. I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, it is satisfying. It's extremely satisfying. You get to this point and you're seeing it all come together and you think, yeah, all the hard work, you know, is really starting to pay off. But, you know, it is not 5 minutes work. It really isn't. Let's say everything you touch, you pick up, you have to do something to it. There's nothing that bolts straight on. But this is the joys of restoration. This is the joys of doing rebuilds on old vehicles like this. You know, at the end of the day, someone's got to save them. If not, as I said before, they're gone forever, aren't they? Right, so next job is get the long timbers for the sides cut in preparation for fitting. And I think now we're actually ready to put the uprights for the body on. Once they go on, then it was, you know, it really started to take shape. Right, can't talk to you any longer. Must crack on. Right, top tip time. So this is a top tip from Matt Foster. We have the sides, which are all down here, all lined up, ready to go. They're all numbered, so we know exactly where they go. The top tip is, and it's one of those simple top tips, a piece of string. We have a string line tied front to rear. It's of a very first upright, which is in a fixed position. These are the ones, if you remember, right at the beginning of the video, I did set these up and make sure they were completely plumb to start with. So that was our starting point. We also know that the tailgate, as a square as an old tailgate really is going to be. Our side timbers have been temporarily fitted, so these are also a guide for us as well. String line is at the exact height the upright should finish at. So the plan is we clamp one at a time in its exact position, so the face of it is touching this side timber and the top of it is in line with a piece of string and just touching the inside of the string. At least that way we know that all of them front to rear will be matching. They'll only be matching basically as straight as the rest of the Matador is, but like I say, they'll be matching. That's the plan. As I said, that's it's a Matt Foster top tip. Those of you know who Matt Foster is, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, he's the man that runs and owns Matador HQ. Any parts you need for a Matador, speak to Mr. Foster. He'll certainly be able to help you out. Right, string line is on, it's pulled taut. I've double checked my measurements. Let's clamp some side rails on and get it fitted. Okay, that's one side finished. All looking lovely, nicely lined up. Right, I don't know if any of you have ever done fencing before. Same principle. I should get some teeth and put them in at some point. The same principle applies for lining up. Although we have used a string line to give side guide, also the best way is just to look along them. So basically they should all disappear into one. Now I'm hoping you catch it on the camera, but we'll see how that goes. So as you follow them along, and one by one they disappear into one. And it's like, if you've ever done fencing, doing fence posts, you follow them along, it's all done by eye. The string line is there to give you a guide, but effectively If one of them is just sticking out a bit too much or put in too much, you will see it straight away. It will stick out like a sore thumb. And the same principle applies if you look along the top of them, they will all disappear into one. Right, that's my useless tip for you if you're ever going to do one of these jobs. Or if you're building a fence, try it, it works. Oh, that's the passenger side all done now. Another job ticked off the list. All lined up. Need to drill a few more holes and add the rest of the coach bolts. At the moment, we've basically just done 2 coach bolts put upright. This is just to get them all lined up and exactly where we want them. Now they're in and we're happy. The line, as I said before, just disappears. Lovely. That's what we want. Right, I'll get the rest of them drilled, get them bolted up, and on to the next stage. Right, progress to date. Excuse my voice, I've got a bit of a sore throat at the moment. So far, I think we've achieved quite a lot, to be fair. All the uprights are on, the side timbers are bolted in, and it's actually starting to look a bit like a Matador again. A couple of coach poles need to be trimmed down. A bit too long on the list of things to do. But there we go. That's basically the structural work done on the rear body. So next job, we're going to have to get a couple of timbers cut in for the sides. These will only be temporary, just to act as packers so I can get the roof bolted onto the side, so I can eventually get the macros out of the way and make it a mobile vehicle. That's the plan anyway. Okay, so next phase will be getting the side timbers on, like I just said. Then we need to concentrate on the electrics. There's also the driver's side wheel arch needs replaced, some tyres, the endless list basically. That's what we're aiming for, to try and complete an endless list. God, you gotta love restoration work. Right, that's been 5 days straight now working on Bernard. It's been an enjoyable process, exhausting but enjoyable. It has put up a struggle on every single step, to be perfectly honest. I set myself a daily task to achieve each day. I didn't achieve a single task I'd set each day. It has just taken so much longer than expected. I think the mindset was, we bought new timbers already cut to shape, so you sort of think, well, they're new, they should fit on, and they do fit, but every single one of them requires, you know, a certain amount of sort of fettling, just a little bit of work on each one to get everything level, get everything square. I was told once before that every single Matador is different, and it's absolutely true. These vehicles were hand built by carpenters back in the day, so like, every single one is very slightly different. One of the original rear cross members I did have, which wasn't from Bernard here, it's an original rear cross member. I even measured it just out of interest to see how the holes lined up, and they were 1/4 of an inch out. Doesn't sound a lot, 1/4 of an inch, but I said I was probably trying to be a bit 2mm perfect with it. It doesn't work. It's an old vehicle, it's 86 years old. Everything's had a hard life on it. Metal's been, the uprights, you know, have been bashed, pulled, twisted. You're straightening stuff out. You're trying to match new timbers with old metal. All the brackets, there's a few schoolboy errors. I'll put my hands up. Yes, mistakes were made. All the bracketry, it's obviously handmade. All the holes were punched in individually. you kind of think they'll all be the same. They're not. So there was a few mistakes there made. You know, I pre-drilled some holes I thought would be suitable, and some of the brackets just didn't match. It was just like, yeah, schoolboy errors. But you know, you're constantly learning every single time you do something. So as I said, I've just worked 5 days straight. It's now Sunday evening. I'm absolutely knackered. I'm burning the candle at both ends to try and get a Bernard here ready to a point where it can be driven to Capel. And the reality is, I have to face this fact that I don't think I'm going to be able to get a drive him to Capel. He's still going to go to Capel one way or another. Whether I'm going to drive him or not, it's looking highly unlikely. There's still so much to do. I just keep walking around thinking, right, I need to do that, I need to do that. Yes, this rear body, it's taken a long time. It's been fun. I have enjoyed it. It has frustrated me a bit, but I have enjoyed it. Seeing it come together now, and the vehicle is now actually starting to look like a Matador again, which is fantastic. But like I said, the reality is it's unlikely I'm going to be able to get a drive. So what I'm asking for, and would very much appreciate if anyone has got transport going to Capel and they do have space for a Matador, please let me know. If Capel themselves are watching, anyone from Capel, and you do have transport facilities and you would be able to pick up a Matador, it would be very much appreciated. Not just on a Matador though. What I'm asking, I might as well ask for 2. If you're going to ask, if you don't ask, you don't get. That's the way it works out. A friend of mine from the same area club as Heathrow in West London is recommissioning a Saracen. It's only a mere 11 tons, so it's a small vehicle. He's only a young lad, to be fair, and he really has gone for it. This is his first vehicle he's owned himself, military vehicle, and he's gone for an 11-ton Saracen. You've got to absolutely admire him for doing that. His plan was also to be able to drive to Capel, but it's also looking unlikely. So if anyone else could assist with that, so a Saracen and a Matador going to Capel, I am asking for help here. We are probably just under 30 miles from Capel. Happy to contribute to fuel or wherever's needed, but any assistance would be greatly appreciated. I'm just, as I say, got to prepare myself for the fact that I don't think I'm going to be able to get drive it there, but it will get there one way or another. But if you can assist, please let me know. If anyone from Capel can assist, you either contact me directly or speak to Ian from Heathrow West London MVT. He knows me. He will be able to get in contact with me directly. So if you enjoyed the video, please tick the like. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. If you want to leave a comment, please leave a comment. Guys, I work as hard as I can on this to get it done. But I need to prepare myself for the reality that it may be going on a low day. Either that or we're pushing it. So if any of you are free and you fancy pushing a Matador 30 miles, you know, we could give it a go. Right, I will catch you on the next one. Take care.